I would like to welcome everyone to the July 24, 2014 council meeting. Would everyone please stand for the invocation? I would like to recognize Councilman Carroll. He has a special intention.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The last proclamation was something of joy for Ms. Jones. From the residents and the constituents of District 1, we're a close-knit family, and we really celebrate Ms. Jones for her 100th birthday. But now, would I say that one of the city employees who has been working in the sewer department for over 30 years, Mr. Donald Robinson, lost his 23-year-old daughter from complications of diabetes. I ask everyone from the council, everyone in the audience, to pray for the family and to also pray for all of the young men and women who suffer from the disease of diabetes, that a cure is found so we can save these young lives. Thank you.
Let us bow our heads. Let us pray silently together, each one of us, according to our individual beliefs. Let us offer thanks for our blessings for one another. Let us be a source of hope for those in need and contentment for those who are lonely. Let us give gratitude for our opportunity to serve the community. Let the feelings of love, kindness, and a well-directed yet gentle spirit always be reflected in our actions. Amen. Now, if you could please face the American flag and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. For the record, please be advised that all council members are in attendance and we have a quorum this evening. In accordance with Council Resolution number B 14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. As the council clerk this evening, I have received a request to amend the agenda to include item 2A, a resolution granting an alcoholic beverage permit to Celebración Hispana de Kenner, Incorporated, on August 9, 2014, at Kenner Heritage Park, being property owned by the City of Kenner at 303 Williams Boulevard in Kenner, Louisiana. I have a motion by Councilmember DeFrances, second by Councilmember Conley, to suspend our council rules this evening to add item 2A. All council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0 to suspend the council rules. At this time, I would like to amend the agenda to add item 2A. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to object? Please come forward. Hearing no objections, all council members, please vote to add item 2A to your agenda this evening. Motion passes 7-0 to add item 2A. As the council clerk, I've also received a request to amend the agenda this evening to include item 16H, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the lowest responsive bid of J.B. James Construction, LLC, received June 11, 2014 by the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development in the amount of $1,317,462.22 for Veterans Boulevard Overlay and Bridge MOD PH2 State Project Number J.009-441, Federal Aid Project Number H.009-441, and Kenner Public Works Number 2011-002-ST. I have a motion by Councilmember Conley, second by Councilmember DeFrances, to suspend your council rules tonight to add item 16H. All council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0 to suspend your rules. At this time, I have a motion by Councilmember Conley, second by Councilmember DeFrances, to add item 16H to the agenda this evening. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to object? Please come forward. Hearing no objection, all council members, please vote to add item 16H to your agenda this evening. Motion passes 7-0 to add item 16H to your agenda. We will now move on to the consent agenda, which will consist of item 1, Approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of July 10, 2014. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. Item 2A is a resolution granting an alcoholic beverage permit to Celebración Hispana de Kenner Incorporated on August 9, 2014 at Kenner Heritage Park, being property owned by the City of Kenner, 303 Williams Boulevard in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 1826/14, Deutsches Haus, to hold a public gathering for the purpose of Oktoberfest 2014 on October 10th, 2014 from 4 p.m. to 12 a.m., October 11th, 2014 from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., October 17th, 2014 from 4 p.m. to 12 a.m., October 18th, 2014 from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., October 24th, 2014 from 4 p.m. to 12 a.m., October 25th, 2014 from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. in Rivertown, Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3B is application number 1828/14 to hold a public gathering for the purpose of a neighborhood block party on August 9, 2014 from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. in the 2100 block of 42nd Street in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 4 is correspondence reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. Item 4A, at the request of the administration, a presentation given regarding the upgrade of code enforcement.
Ready? Good evening, everyone. I'm here to give you all an update with regard to the upgrades to the Department of Inspection and Code Enforcement. The upgrade to the department has been really trying to focus primarily on improving customer service and at the same time create a much better workplace for the employees. Excuse me. Building B started out as a one-story structure in 1973. In 1980, the second and third floors were added. It's been 34 years since the last major improvements to the building. The architect was Meyer Engineers. Capstone Builders of Metairie won the contract, and work began in September of 2013. The total cost is approximately $512,000, with about $378,000 for construction contract and another $134,000 in in-house work and purchases by the city, which included digging a new sewer line and drain line, 19 windows in a bathroom, and buying cubicles and computers and furniture. One goal was to create more room for the customer and make it possible to conduct business at the Code Enforcement Department without spending a significant portion of the day there. The front desk now has 4 waiting areas where hopefully you won't have to wait. We will be able to get you in and out as quickly as humanly possible. New and improved lighting throughout the department removes the gloomy feel you can sense in the picture of the old office. Now the office is bright and cheery, and the employees will definitely appreciate the changes. The design of the new office maximizes the available space. One upgrade in the inspector's bullpen on the right, and areas dedicated for the inspectors to I'm sorry, it's the next slide. There you go. For the inspectors when they arrive back in to process their paperwork. The old office was so cramped that if you look in that one picture there, you'll see that the main printer was crammed into a closet. It's not surprising that a 41-year-old building had significant structural issues. The 19 windows on the first floor were all replaced because of leaks. The new windows are now rated to withstand 150-mile-per-hour winds. The main corridor area had to be shored up. While the building wasn't in danger of collapse before this work was done, its future would have been significantly cut short. In addition, plumbing issues required a new sewer line and drain line. These were dug and installed by city workers who also installed the windows and built a bathroom as a way to keep contract costs to a minimum. Some of the work to move back to Building B at City Hall has begun. More will take place this weekend, and on Monday, that's July 28th, both the temporary office on Reverend Richard Wilson Drive in Rivertown and the City Hall location will be closed for us to go ahead and install all of our new equipment and put our files in place. And I just wanted to let everyone know we're exceptionally excited to have our new digs, basically, and an improved department. The public will notice some differences beyond the shiny new office. Workers have been cross-trained so that we don't have to tell a customer to come back later if somebody's on lunch. or out sick. There's also a conference room that's dedicated to assisting customers who have confidential information with regard to the planning department, so they can sit at a table and go over and review plans. And additionally, I would also like to thank Mr. Jose Gonzalez and Jay Abear for being such gracious, having us as guests in their departments. I do appreciate it, and I hope we weren't too bad with y'all.
Thank you, Ms. Fallow. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you again for the presentation.
No problem.
Back to the consent agenda this evening. Item 5 is acceptance/rejection of bids requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. Item 5A is a resolution approving repairs to Skag lawn equipment in the amount of $3,110 by Vaughn's Power Equipment Incorporated, an authorized dealer of Skag equipment for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 5B is a resolution accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Game Day Apparel, LLC, in the amount of $3,967.50 for the purchase of basketball uniforms in accordance with telephone bid number T-14-2176 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 5C is a resolution accepting the responsive bid received from BSN Sports in the amount of $2,880.72 for the purchase of football equipment in accordance with telephone bid number T-14-2191 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 6 is change orders requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. We have none. Item 7 is acceptance of committee findings for final passage. We have none. Item 8 is re-subdivision of ordinances for final passage. We have none. I have a motion by Councilmember Conley, second by Councilmember DeFranchis on the consent agenda. All council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0 for your consent agenda this evening. Under the public appearance agenda this evening, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,736, an ordinance amending the budget and accepting the award of fiscal year 2013 Emergency Solutions Grant, ESG, from the Louisiana Housing Corporation in the amount of $26,040 and providing for related matters. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember DeFranchis to open your public hearing this evening. All council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0 to open your hearing. You're now in a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience wishing to address the council, please come forward now. Hearing no discussion on the matter, motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember DeFranchis to close your public hearing this evening. All council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0 to close your hearing. Summary ordinance number 11,736 is now on the floor for approval. If there's any council members wishing to discuss the matter, Councilman Carroll, would you like to speak? Hearing no discussion, all council members please vote on approval. Motion passes 7-0 this evening. Item 9B is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,739. An ordinance authorizing a public hearing and approving amendments to the fiscal year 2007, fiscal year 2010, and fiscal year 2013 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG Final Action Plans, i.e. budgets for the Department of Community Development. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember DeFranchis to open your public hearing this evening. All council members, please vote to open. Motion passes 7-0 to open your hearing. We're now in a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience wishing to come forward to discuss the ordinance, please come forward now. Ms. Arleta Terrell.
Good evening. Just wanted to make the council and the public aware that we were amending prior year budgets, 2007, 2010, and 2013. And basically, the details of those amendments have been presented and published in the newspaper, and I'm here if anyone has any questions that they would like to ask. And I ask your support and approval. Thank you.
Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Terrell. And there are 2 or 3 different going from 2007 all the way to 2013, yes, monies that will be transferred or used for other things we will talk about in the future. But Just to talk on, as it relates to the law and the responsibility that we have with monies and the expedience that is now required for us to get the money spent, could you just touch on that briefly, please?
Yes, thank you. With the federal government now, it's always been a priority and been a rule that we timely expend our money. And in previous years, things have been kind of lax, but over the last 2 years, the federal government has enforced the rules of the federal regulations as it relates to expending your money. And we've been put on notice, as all other grantees in the state of Louisiana and across the country, that if money is not spent in a timely manner, it will be recaptured by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So that's why you see this particular ordinance goes as far back as 2007, because it's an effort of my department and administration to reallocate monies, put them in a position where we can spend them on projects that's ready to go now. And this will probably be one of several that you may get in the next fiscal year to make sure we timely expend our money. So I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to explain that, and glad
Thank you.
that.
And just because at this particular time we are dedicating the money for other projects does not mean in the future that we won't be able to go back to these projects and have the opportunity again to have this.
Exactly.
And particularly for the third one, if you would please, which is dedicating funds from the Annie Washington Center that was proposed by former Councilman, now Judge Johnson. There was a misunderstanding from some of my constituents calling in about the idea that Ms. Washington, legacy of Ms. Washington, commitment to the community was going to be, eliminated.
Yes.
Could you please explain a little bit more about that
I do
situation?
want to assure everyone the money that's being reallocated from the land acquisition line item for Annie Washington will be substituted by the Home Partnership Grant. That is another federal grant that we have applied for. Those monies will allow us to not buy land as this was originally intended, but it will allow us to put the Annie Washington Community Center back into commerce, not as a community center, but as another service center to the community that I think the constituents of the district and the city of Kenner will benefit from. So we have plans underway, and whatever we decide to do, we're committed to maintaining the name of Miss Annie Washington and her legacy, because she was a pioneer in this community.
And thank you, and not going into details because there are a couple of options that we will address and go forward with. So before we try to be specific about it, we're going to hold back, but the Annie Washington Center will be active, viable, living, live for all the people for years to come within the city of Kenner.
A usable facility, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
If there's no other members that would like to speak, I would motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember DeFrances to close your public hearing. All council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0 to close your hearing. Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember DeFrances for approval. I've also received a request this evening to amend this item. I have, under the 2010 CDBG proposed use funds, we will be also reducing community health/AIDS awareness by $4,000. We will reduce transitional housing for the homeless by $5,000. We will reduce Energy Star by $3,605 and reduce the AP Clay gazebo construction by $6,664. And the total increase for construction of the new food bank will now be at $74,949.22. If I could get a motion and a second on the amendment. Motion by Councilmember DeFrances, second by Councilmember Reyno for amendment. If all council members could vote on the amendment, please. Motion passes 7-0 to amend. Back to your original motion, Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember DeFrances for approval this evening. Hearing no discussion, all council members please vote. Motion passes 7-0 for approval. Item 10 is opening of bids. We had none. Item 11 is reclassification for Zoning for final passage, we had none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage, and we had none. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution relative to the formation of a City of Kenner Charter Advisory Committee for the purposes of studying and reviewing the existing Kenner City Charter, submitting recommendations to the council and mayor for any revisions or changes which, in the opinion of the committee, should be made to the Kenner City Charter, establishing the composition of the committee, providing for its functions and duties, and to provide for related matters. I have a motion by Councilmember Conley, second by Councilmember DeFranchis. On item 13A, Councilmember Conley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Basically, in the council, I've had discussions with certain council members, Segura, Councilwoman DeFranchis, and basically, we all believe in transparency and giving our residents a chance to engage with their government. And certainly, anything as serious as a charter change, as Councilman Segura has stated, such a sacred document, it's basically the Constitution of the city, should be vetted through the public and give residents and anybody else that has any concerns a chance to address the issues, and that whole process should be done at an open meeting. So what this committee is doing, it's allowing us to bring this to the people in a public hearing format, let residents weigh in. I invite all the directors to come to weigh in also, since you have to deal within the framework of this charter on a daily basis, and I ask the council for their support.
Councilmember Segura.
First, I'd like to thank Councilman Reyno, because I know some time back he had attempted to do these charter ideas, have them brought forward, and the process did not necessarily go the way he preferred. But at this point, what this resolution is going to do is allow the process to take forth and go forward as it has in the past, where this committee will be formed, representatives will be appointed, and they will review the charter, review the issues that are presented to them that have been pressing shortly but periodically need to be addressed with the charter to keep it as a living, breathing model to keep us current. So I want to again thank Councilman Reyno, Councilman Franchis, Councilman Conley, and all the rest who are worked with us to put this together. Thank you.
Councilmember Impastato.
Yes, I have I'd like to move on an amendment to the resolution as it sits. Madam Clerk, could you read the amendment into the record?
Yes, that'd be motion by Councilmember Impastato, second by well, let me read it in the record. I'm sorry, I apologize. Section 2 will now read, the City of Kenner Charter Advisory Committee shall be composed of 9 members as follows. 1 member appointed by mayor, 1 member appointed by the Kenner Chief of Police, 1 member appointed by the Kenner City Councilman at Large Division A, 1 member appointed by the Kenner City Councilmember at Large Division B, 1 member appointed by Kenner City Councilman at Large Councilman District 1, 1 member appointed by Kenner City Councilman District 2, 1 member appointed by Kenner City Councilman District 3, 1 member appointed by Kenner City Councilman District 4, 1 member appointed by Kenner City Councilman District 5. Motion by Councilmember Impastato, second by Councilmember Reyno to amend the item. Any discussion on the amendment this evening?
Madam Chairman.
Madam Chairman, would you like to address Mr. Brown before on the amendment or when we go back to the original motion?
Actually, on the amendment. No, Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane. I was going initially to ask that this resolution be amended in the way that Dominic Impastato just proposed, and I feel that's a very good amendment. You, the council members, are the governing body of the city of Kenner, and I think each one of you should have a representative on this committee. So I'm glad to see this amendment, and I do support the amendment. Thank you.
Back to your amendment. Any discussion on your amendment this evening? Councilmember Carroll?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to thank Councilman Impastato for this amendment. I think it's a fantastic amendment. I do believe I would have probably, not probably, I would have done the same. I believe that for a city the size of Kenner, the diversity that we have, to not allow each one of us to have someone to represent our district is not a good way for the people to be represented. There's 7 of us up here. In order for all of us to agree on one person with our different of opinions on different subjects would have been almost impossible. So I think this is a great addition, a great amendment to it, and I will be supporting it. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilmember Klein?
Amend the charter. We need to add some things, we need to subtract some things, we need to clarify some things. And so a committee consisting of 9 folks is a very good idea, and I support Mr. Impastato's amendment, and the constituents I talk to in my district also support the distribution of the appointees.
Councilmember DeFrances?
Thank you. Many of us had spoken about the amendment, and we are all in favor of it. We think it's a great amendment, and I think the public will be very happy with the results from the input of the people from the various districts. And again, thank you, Mr. Impastato, for stepping forward and putting the amendment on the agenda.
Hearing no more discussion on the amendment this evening, all council members, please vote on the amendment. Motion passes 7-0 for your amendment. Back to your original motion. Is there any discussion regarding the original motion? Okay, Councilman Reyno would like to speak. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. As many of you know, I put some charter change amendments up, and I'm happy that we're actually moving on this, because our current charter dates back 40 years. Some things are that old. So this is something that needs to be done, and I've been pushing to have it done for the 2 years that I served on this council. So, and I appreciate Councilmember Impastato in making the amendment. Thank you.
Councilman Conley, would you like to close?
Join the many that have thanked Councilman Impastato for his amendment. I would like to ask if the entire council could be put on this legislation and submitted by.
Absolutely.
I'd also want to thank Mr. Brown, who did call me in the beginning of the week and discuss his concerns with this, which prompted the discussion and the amendment that was just put on. So.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion, all council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 13B is a resolution appointing Marion D. Floyd and Kernan A. Skip Hand as court magistrates for the city of Kenner. I have a motion by Councilmember DeFrances, second by Councilmember Conley. Councilmember DeFrances, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council Clerk. I don't see Mr. Floyd here. I don't believe he's here. But Mr. Judge Skip Hand is here. And if he would like to step to the mic, we would be happy to have him address the council.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members. And I'd like to thank Mayor Yanni for nominating me. And I'd like to tell you that I will work very hard if I was going to say if elected, but if you show the confidence in me, I will do everything I can to earn your trust. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge Hand.
Councilmember Conley, you have the floor.
I would just like to thank you for volunteering to do this. I think it's a very wise move by the mayor in this city to get an experienced judge with 20-something years of experience in state court to come help us move our docket in mayor's court, where I was prosecutor for several years. And I know that your guidance and your wisdom is going to be very well utilized, and we appreciate you stepping forward and volunteering it to the city. And as far as Mr. Floyd goes, for anybody that doesn't know, Marone's been around this city for probably 15, 20 years. He's been a prosecutor in mayor's court. He specializes in domestic violence. And I'm sure that the domestic violence will keep going, but we're very lucky to have now Magistrate Floyd to guide us, and I thank the mayor for his wisdom in choosing him as well.
Councilmember Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I also would like to thank Mr. Hand not only for accepting the position within the city of Kenner, but thanks for your other many years of service that you have given to the greater New Orleans Jefferson Parish people. Also, Mr. Floyd, to comment on Councilman Conley. Mr. Floyd not only has worked for the city of Kenner for over 15, 20 years, but he is a District 1 product, grew up in the Lincoln Manor subdivision. So he's a Kenner boy from District 1 who now lives, I believe, in District 3. So this is someone from the city of Kenner who spends his money here, has raised his children here, has played on the playground. What better of a person to have trying to help and make decisions as it relates to the people who live here. So congratulations again, sir. Look forward to working with you, and God bless. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilmember Reyno.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mayor, great choices, both great choices. And, and I know Judge Hand has been serving our community, not just as a judge. He served on the council, and he has served Kenner. He's been actively involved, and thank you for stepping up. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Klein.
Yes, I too want to thank Mr. Hand, Judge Hand, and also Mr. Floyd for their contributions to the city, and I'm sure both of those will be a great contribution to the city of Kenner like they have been for years. Thank you.
Mayor Yenny.
No, we did this after talking to Chief Magistrate Judge Lozana. We have a good rotation of magistrates right now, some very excellent people, and they're going to continue on. We just wanted to be able to filter into the rotation two other good qualified people. Like everybody has said, Mr. Floyd's been a great prosecutor for the city of Kenner and through several administrations. And Judge Hand, his picture and his name are hanging in this chambers. He's been around here so long. I think he served with my grandfather. So I'm delighted to have him back on the council dais, but in another capacity. And I think this is a first for the city of Kenner that we will have a former sitting judge as a magistrate in Kenner. So I think that's a feather in our cap. And if our normal prosecutor that can't handle the domestic court that we have, which has been very successful, can't sit that day, I know that Judge Hand probably heard some domestic cases in his tenure as a judge, so I think that'll be a very fitting move, so we can filter him in those cases of his expertise that we need. So I want to thank them both for their service and appreciate y'all's ratification of their appointments.
Councilman Impastato.
I just wanted to one-up Councilman Carroll. While Mr. Floyd might be a District 1 product, both of our new judges live in District 5, so I think these were wise choices, Mayor.
Hearing no other discussion, council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 13. Absolutely.
On behalf of the council, I want to congratulate both Mr. Floyd and Judge Hand. I think they're great choices as well, and I know they're going to do a great job for the city and mayor. As everyone said, thank you for those choices. Thank you.
You want to speak? Go ahead. No? You good? Okay. Item 13C is a resolution reappointing Mr. Thomas Lynn to the Municipal Fire and Police Civil Service Board of the City of Kenner, whose current term expires July 30th, 2014, for an additional 3 years. I have a motion by Councilmember Impastato, second by Councilmember Conley. On item 13C, Councilmember Impastato, you have the floor.
Mr. Lynn, having served on the Civil Service Commission with him, I know how dedicated he has been to that and the level of contribution he has had to that. So I think it would absolutely be in the best interest of everyone here to reaffirm that appointment and keep him on that board serving the city in that capacity.
Councilmember Conley.
I'd just like to echo Councilman Impastato. Tommy was my neighbor for 10, 11 years. He's moved on to greener pastures, but I want to thank him for the service that he's given, and I'm glad that he's re-upped and he's going to continue to give us his time, and I want to appreciate it.
Hearing no further discussion, all council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none this evening. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 11,737. An ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Ferguson Enterprises Incorporated doing business as Louisiana Utility Supply Company for the supply of frames and grates on an as-needed basis in accordance with sealed bid number 14-6225 and an amount not to exceed $15,000 per year for the Department of Public Works. I have a motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Segura. All council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 11,738. An ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from J.A. Jack Julius, Jr. Incorporated for the construction of a new food bank facility in accordance with sealed bid number 14-6217 and approving change order number 1, which reduces the contract amount. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Reyno. Any discussion on the item this evening? Councilmember Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, Madam Clerk. This is something that is happening within the city of Kenner. I believe that this is a great move, especially for the city of Kenner to be able to show the humility that we have, the caring that we have for our citizens. I will have some closing comments, and I will give the opportunity to my fellow council members to speak on the subject. Thank you, Madam President.
I have no other discussion on the item itself, so I actually received an amendment this evening from the administration that I would like to read en globo to the legislation, so bear with me as I read it into the record, please. On the third whereas, we will change it to read, change order number 1, which incorporates various cost savings, reduces the contract amount by $91,145. And there's a new whereas, fourth whereas that will read, whereas the bid specifications also contained 3 alternates, which if selected would enable the food bank to serve additional individuals and families. And the fifth whereas will read, whereas funding will be sourced from the following accounts. Account number 310-200-75036-1350. 2007 Community Development Block Grant CDBG funding in the amount of $63,442. Account number 310-2010-5036-1350. The 2010 CDBG funding in the amount of $74,949. Account number 310-2013-5036-1350, the 2013 CDBG funding in the amount of $60,000. Account number 3644050-5036-1350, proceeds from the sale of former Toy Train Museum in the amount of $180,000. Account number 3644050-5036-1350, proceeds from the sale of streets in the amount of $161,734. Account number 3644050-5036-1350, proceeds from the sale of the food bank in the amount of $84,000. Account number 3661118-5002-1112, District 2, in the amount of $13,600. Account number 3591113-5003-1111, District 3, in the amount of $13,600. Account number 353-8085-5004-1082, District 4, in the amount of $13,600. Account number 3641115-5005-1109, District 5, in the amount of $13,600. Account number 354-85-5006, At-Large Division A, in the amount of $13,600. And account number 354-8085-5007, At-Large Division B, in the amount of $13,600. In Section 1, we will change the amount to $652,000 and take out including alternate 1. In Section 2, it shall read that alternate number 1, additional concrete for the loading dock and driveway and overhead door 17 in the amount of $75,650 is hereby accepted. Section 3 will read that alternate number 2, additional concrete and electrical service for coolers in the amount of $32,890 is hereby accepted. Section 4 will read that alternate number 3, additional parking in the amount of $36,330 is hereby accepted. Section 5 will read that a contract between the City of Kenner and J.A. Jack Julius Jr. Incorporated in the amount of $796,870 is hereby approved. Section 6 will read that change order number 1 to the contract with J.A. Jack Julius Jr. Incorporated regarding the construction of a new food bank facility, which reduces the contract amount by $91,145, thereby reducing the total contract amount to $705,725, is hereby approved. Section 7, that any amendments or change orders submitted for this project may be approved by resolution. Section 8, that the mayor of the City of Kenner is authorized to execute any and all documents necessary to implement this ordinance. I would need a motion and a second to do these amendments in globo.
Motion.
Motion by Councilmember DeFrances, second by Councilmember Reyno on the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment this evening? Hearing no discussion, all council members, please vote on your amendment. Motion passes 7-0 on your amendment. Back to your original motion as amended. Councilman Carroll, second by Councilmember Reyno. Any discussion on the original legislation? Councilmember Carroll?
I believe we need to address an issue before we move forward, please. It's okay? Thank you.
Councilman Carroll, you have the floor.
I just want to make clear, did I not open on the before, and because I like to close?
You did open?
I did, so I'll be closing after everyone has
There was no one else in your queue to speak on the matter, so
Okay.
you would be closing, sir.
Okay.
You want it back? No problem. There you go.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam Clerk. And like I said before, we were talking about the construction, modular construction additions to the food bank. And let me say that the food bank, I am totally in agreement of the food bank. I think it is a fantastic idea for the City of Kenner because it shows our humility, it shows that we care. All of the money that we'll be spending in the future, the $30 million for trees and signs and all that is fantastic. But nothing shows more to people, or nothing is remembered more than when you reach out to someone when they are in need. And the construction of this food bank does that 100%. The old food bank is in deplorable condition, not only for the people who have to come there, but even for the staff. The fact that the old food bank, there is not even a restroom in the food bank for the people who come to receive food to use the restroom. And the only restroom that is there for the staff is a men's restroom, because this is an old building that used to be a fireman's building, was built in, 1950, 1960, and as we know, there were no female firemen at that time. So the accommodations are built for men. The reality is that the restroom is occupied by a male. It could be used, a female could walk in unbeknownst to anyone, which is a bad situation to put us in. So the fact that we get new food bank is fantastic. I believe that, we have renovated our buildings in the council chambers. We've put in new walls, new carpet for many of us. Many of us, our own offices have our own restroom. For not to be able to accommodate a simple restroom for the people is unconscionable. We have redid the Public Works buildings, fantastic for the people to come in. We just recently got from Ms. Vallow, a presentation on a code, fantastic. It is where the people, the business people come in and to stimulate businesses in the City of Kenner to conduct business, and people who come in and do their own private to their homes and businesses. This is what we need. This is proud what we should do for the City of Kenner to show that we're open not only to progress, but that we care about the people that live in the city of Kenner, even the ones who have challenges sometimes. So let me be clear about that. I am 100% behind the structure of this. But I have some concerns about some of the fundings for this. And my concerns are that a lot of the monies have, as I stated to my fellow colleagues, some of them agree to what I say, some of them don't, but that's why we're here today. A lot of the monies have been from District 1, from the Annie Washington, some of the stuff Mr. Terrell talked about, and some of the other, I won't go into detail with that, but a large portion of it has to be able to build this structure, which is important for the city of Kenner to help everyone. And that is something I want to say. This is a city of Kenner food bank. It is not a District 1 food bank. Mr. Quigley and I was in our last meeting. He mentioned the fact that some of the streets in this building goes back as far as 1800, and that's what my contention is. The contention, the disagreement that we have is everything on here I agree to, but what I disagree to is that the $161,000 that is allocated for the building, 125 of it, I believe, should go back to the district, because in the past, the precedent has always been that when streets are sold, they go back to the district. Even in times when the street was sold from someone else's district, the monies went back to all of the districts. And there is an ordinance in place for this. This is not something that I'm making up. This was an ordinance in 2006 that the council voted on. The intent was to put the money back into the districts for the infrastructure. So this is the contention that I have. This is the part that I disagree, that everything we're doing is fantastic, but to have a different of opinion now that this is a law. This is not something that we are just arbitrarily trying to change. I believe if there was something that we wanted to change, we should have addressed this sooner. I believe we are $125,000 difference from where we are on the amendment today. Madam Clerk, could you show the graph of the breakdown of the food bank, how it's represented? Did you receive that from my assistant?
Yes, you have that.
To show the breakdown for the people who use the food bank.
sure
Thank
will.
you.
Tell me when you're ready.
Could you read it, Madam Clerk, for people who maybe can't see it?
Yes, it says, basically, it's the DCRW ordinance submitted by Councilman Stagney. Basically, all funds derived from the sale of streets no longer needed would be dedicated for infrastructure maintenance and improvement within the council district the streets are located. This ordinance formalizes a process that has been followed by this council for many years.
Thank you. And could you show the breakdown, I think there's a slide that shows the breakdown per council district of the number of people.
Right there. Is that it? No, keep going.
No, no, not that one. The one, she should have had one that shows the breakdown, the percentages, that one. I'm not sure if you can read it, but Ms. Terrell, could you?
Can you read it?
I can't read it.
District 1 is 336, District 2 is 146, District 3 is 79, District 4 is 48, District 5 is 89, for a total of 698 families that were, looks like, certified in July 1st, 2013.
We request, Ms. Terrell wants to correct that.
Okay.
That's 2013. After I received the request from your office, we updated. I realized the staff had provided you the numbers from 2013, so we updated it for 2014. And I think the good thing is that everyone can see. I'm not sure what the total is on there, but right now for 2014, we have 922 persons that's being served, and I think that was close to maybe 700. That just shows the increase we've had over the last fiscal year.
Yes, and it shows my point that it's something that is needed. As far as the percentages are concerned, did that change much, or?
In some, let me just give you the percentages that we have for the last fiscal year. District 1, 45%. District 2, 21%. District 3 stayed the same, 11%. District 4, 9%, and District 5 was 14%.
Yes, so the numbers are pretty much the same. You know, the fact is, just to show prove my point is that this is a city food bank, and that the slide before that showed that there was an ordinance with the precedent that the monies for the street go back to the district. And all I'm saying is, on one of the alternates, some of the money should be spent to construct a parking lot, which is a difference of $125,000 that seems to be the contention between the administration and some of my colleagues, that I believe we should be able to fund it, find other sources to fund it. Listen, we did a fantastic job for the building, the Public Works building. It started at a number. That number continued to increase to over $1 million. And each time we found the money to accommodate that, to make it better for the employees and also for the citizens. The Public Works building, $500,000. We found the money to accommodate that. So it is hard for me to believe that $125,000 that we are holding the people in District 1 accountable for something that is not a significant amount of money, based on the law, based on the precedents, based on what was accepted from the council. Now, if you disagree with that or how it reads, then it should be our contention to change it if you disagree with it. But that is what it is today. I'm asking the support to accept this in its totality, but to be able to get the $125,000 from another source. I've been told by Mr. Quigley we have to do this today. I believe if we waited another council meeting to be able to sit down and talk about it, that we should be able to do this. We're talking about District 1, the most historic district in the council, people who are responsible for a lot of the things that have happened beyond Airline Highway. Hardworking people who only want what was fair. What is fair is to be able to get the sale of these streets to put back into the infrastructure, along with the food bank, which will support everyone. But it is unconscionable to believe that we have a $50 million over budget for the city of Kenner. We just went out and found $30 million to do fantastic work for the city of Kenner. And between the two, there's not $125,000 to support this project, that I have to get up here and to address $125,000. I don't think that's fair to the citizens of District 1 not to be able to support continual progress and renovations to the city of Kenner, because we're the most antiquated system, infrastructure, drainage in the whole city. A number of people disagree with me that it is going back to District 1. Yes, it's going back to the food bank, which is for everyone, but it's not going back to individual projects like the precedent was set for the other districts. So in closing, I'm saying District 1 has always done this fair for the city of Kenner. I believe to deprive the city, the district, of $161,000 and technically $125,000 is not fair. I think the precedent has been set in the past for this money to go back to the districts. And it starts here today with District 1. I might remind my colleague, Councilman Segura, that between all of the districts, technically, I believe 1 and 2 are only in the position now to be able to sell streets because of the airport buyout property. If it starts here in District 1, the people in District 2 will also suffer the consequences. So this is a slippery slope. Those people in District 2 are as much accountable, taxes, everything they've done, that they deserve to be able to get the money back and to address infrastructure, drainage, sewerage that is going to come up, that they're going to have to address. And why not be able to address certain projects individually besides the support from the city of Kenner? Again, I would ask for the support totally for the food bank, to support Ms. Terrell, to support the city of Kenner, to support all the constituents, with the stipulation that we do find $125,000 and that the entire, and the 125 is given back to the citizens of District 1, and to obey the law today, which is the law. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilman Carroll, you have a couple of people that have put their lights on to speak. You were actually closing on the matter. Would you like to allow them to speak? You have a citizen, Mr. Morella, the city attorney, Councilman DeFrances, and Councilman Impastato that would like to speak, but you were actually closing. So it's up to you if you'd like to let them have
So
the floor.
I would not have the opportunity to close. This is correct, if they speak.
If you, if Councilman Carroll would like to allow some comments to be addressed to him about it, that might be a way around it, but that's the only way around it. So,
But I would not be able to comment on their comments if they speak now. I would not be able to close. And if I can't close, then I will not. I will let the audience speak. But there was an opportunity for everyone to speak.
want to let it go?
You know, then I will not, if I can't close on the argument.
Okay, so you will allow the city attorney or the
The
citizen?
city attorney can speak, yes.
Okay.
And there were some issues raised about infrastructure that came up at the various meetings we all had. Mr. Gruntz, if you could address some of those issues so that the audience knows what we're talking about and whether or not those infrastructure issues were discussed and what the resolution
Yes, they were.
actually came
And I have
was.
reviewed the ordinance that I think was put on the screen. It's ordinance number 9325, which was passed in 2006. And Section 1 reads that all funds derived from the revocation and sale of any city street right-of-way be dedicated for infrastructure maintenance and improvements within the district in which the property lay. Well, the sale of the streets was approved by ordinance number 10630, and so it conforms with that ordinance as well as this present ordinance because the funds are being dedicated for the construction of the food bank, which is a public infrastructure located within District 1. So you're in full compliance with ordinance number 9325 by allowing the sale of the proceeds from these streets to be used for the food bank.
May I address Mr.
You were
Gruntz?
still closing, so you still have the floor.
Yes.
Am I correct?
You know, and I agree totally with Mr. Grunstick that the intent, when this was first presented to the council in 2006, the intent was just for the infrastructure. The language can be interpreted. We have a number of lawyers up here, but the intent at that meeting for that ordinance was for the infrastructure only. And everything that had preceded before that and after that, 99% of it went to fixing, repairing infrastructure, and the money went back to the councilmatic district, excuse me. So that's where we disagree on our interpretation of the ordinance and as it reads today. But thank you, Mr. Gruntz.
Will you allow Mr. Morella?
Yes.
Mr. Morella?
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 42 years. I couldn't agree with you more, Councilman Carroll, as far as the funding is concerned. This food bank serves the entire city of Kenner. I think that the entire city, that each district should have to put some funding toward that food bank based on the percentage of the people in the district who use that food bank. But throughout this entire discussion, I didn't hear anything mentioned about making sure, having any kind of oversight that this food bank serves the people that it was intended to serve. You know, when you're talking this kind of money, taxpayer money, we want efficiency down there. We want to make sure that this food bank is serving the people that it was designed to serve. Too many programs wind up, for some reason, serving the people that it wasn't designed to serve. And it's, you know, it's just a waste of our taxpayer dollars if it's not serving the people it was intended to serve.
Mr.
So
Morella.
I think we need to talk about that, too.
Okay.
Mr. Morella, I'm just going to address two of the things, the points that you made that, in your opinion, you think it would be fair to be able to let each councilman in the district pay funding based on the percentages. I think that's fair, but I don't want to be able to hold my fellow colleagues accountable for that. It is up to them to determine what is fair, not for me to determine what's fair. I only want to present the fact that we all use it throughout the city of Kenner, and they have given $13,000 towards. So it's not like they haven't given anything. They have. I just believe the additional funding, the $125,000 should come. And as far as it relates to the accountability and the legality of the food bank, Mr. Terrell, could you come up and stipulate the rules that we have in place to ensure that people are not just coming from all over to get the funds dedicated to the city of Kidder?
Thank you. Persons that are serviced at the food bank have to submit an application. They have to provide proof of residence and proof of income. We have income guidelines that we have to follow that's been given to us by the Department of the USDA as well as HUD, and all persons are pre-qualified before services are provided to them. Anybody that's over income or that should not be getting the benefits from the food bank are not serviced at the food bank.
Thank you, Mr.
I can
Merrill.
assure you of that. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Merrill.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, would you and then Mr. Carroll allow one more citizen comment?
I'm fine with that.
Just,
We do need to keep it very close to the topic that we're discussing and not deviate into other areas, please.
Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane, Kenner. I've been attending council meetings for a long time, and I know it has been the custom and also the law by virtue of the ordinance that whenever a street is sold, the money from the sale of that street stays in the district for infrastructure. It's my impression that the food bank serves all of the city. You know, we don't expect a district councilman to pay for a new fire station, or if City Hall was to be moved, you know, it's a city project. It seems to me, based on all the historical precedent, the sale of the streets from within District 1 should stay in District 1 for infrastructure. The food bank is a separate issue that I think should be paid for with city funds. And I also have one question. I was wondering why on this one particular agenda item, there was absolutely no documentation on the agenda. None of no bid, no contract, no supporting documents. Was wondering why none of that was attached. Can anyone answer that?
I can if you need. We've been negotiating till the last minute to make this a reality. We did not want to postpone the moving forward with the food bank because the people of District 1 and the rest of the city, and we're talking about a large number of people in District 1 that depend on the food bank, and I think we all agree. Okay. Now, in District 4, we do, in District 3, we have, in District 2, we have some other food banks. They could temporarily go to St. Jerome's. They could go to Divine Mercy. But there are a lot of people in District 1 that had no other resource. So we had to move as quickly as possible with that. And because the negotiations came right down to the wire, I believe the last meeting ended after 4 o'clock. Am I not correct, Mr. Carroll, because you were in that meeting? There was no way we could put it before the public. But let me assure you that every councilman had a meeting, every councilman was involved with the administration to make sure that this became a reality at this meeting.
Yeah, I understand that there was a rush to get this done. I just wondered why there was no documentation available. I may
Because
speak
we might
on
have
that later.
destroyed the
Thank you,
negotiations.
ma'am.
I'm good.
Okay, hearing no other discussion on the matter, all council members, please vote for approval. Your motion passes 6-1. Councilmember Carroll is opposed. Item 15C is a resolution amending Resolution Number B16377 due to audit of project conducted by the state/DOTD adjusting final quantities and payments of the construction contract, Kenner Public Works Project Number 2009-002-ST, State Project Number 742-26-0078/H007212, and Federal Aid Project Number 2605-507, and the additive amount of $5,185.08 due to Barrier Construction LLC as a result of the audit. I have a motion by Councilmember DeFrances, second by Councilmember Conley. Councilmember DeFrances.
Thank you, Council Clerk. Just a little bit of clarification for the people at home and in the audience who might not be quite sure what this actually is all about. Originally, this change order was not an increase, but a decrease in approximately $28,139.23. After that decrease was put in place, there was an audit that was done, and it was discovered that $28,139.23 was a little bit more than should have been the amount that should have been reduced. Therefore, the auditor said that, again, there should be an additive amount given back of $5,185.08 to Berea Construction. But of that $5,000, that money does not all come from the City of Kenner. Only 20% comes from the City of Kenner from our matching amount that we are obliged to do, and that only comes out to $1,037.02. So even though those monies had to be given back, please be aware that there was still a reduction in total cost of $22,954.17. So only a very small amount of the money that was given back because of the audit report actually had to be reimbursed. So we're still way ahead, and that's great. Anytime that a contract comes in under the projected cost, that's a big plus for this city. Thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, all council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0.
Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance authorizing the purchase of 2 Skag Turf Tiger 52 mowers in the amount of $18,718.40 from Vaughn's Power Equipment Incorporated, utilizing state contract number 409478 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16B is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Pilot Specialty Group, LLC, in the amount of $33,690.20 to furnish and install 2 aerating fountains at Kenner City Park and provide servicing for 5 years in accordance with seal bid number 14-1516 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16C is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid to supply electrical supplies on an as-needed basis in accordance with seal bid number 14-6232 in an amount not to exceed $200,000 per year for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16D is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received for the removal of the old air conditioner unit and the furnishing and installation of a new air conditioning unit, furnace, and horizontal coil at the Fassbender Center in accordance with letter bid number 14-1517 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16E is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received for the removal of existing flooring and the furnishing and installation of new flooring at the Fassbender Center in accordance with seal bid number 14-6233 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16F is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Winterland Incorporated for the supply of Christmas lighting on an as-needed basis in accordance with seal bid number 14-6226 in an amount not to exceed $30,000 per year for the Department of Public Works. Item 16G is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Crown Architectural Metal Company, LLC, in the amount of $881,000 for the re-roofing of halls A, B, and C of the Pontchartrain Center and Convention and Civic Center. Item 16H is an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the lowest bid from J.B. James Construction, LLC, received June 11, 2014 by the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development in the amount of $1,317,462.22 for the Veterans Boulevard Overlay and Bridge MOD PH2 State Project Number J.009441, Federal Aid Project Number H.009441, Kenner Public Works Number 2011-002-ST. Item 17 is reports from the council and our special committees.
Any council members like to speak? Councilmember Impostata, you have the floor.
Yes, on behalf of Councilman Conley and I, we'd like to make a report concerning the west return levee wall at the parish line. In March, late March, and then coming back in June of this year, With the construction of the new levee wall, unfortunately, that created some additional flooding challenges in that area, that culminated in the end of June with a couple of houses actually being flooded off of that back wall, which caused an immediate concern to the neighbors along Grand Lake Boulevard, east and west. Mr. Jose Gonzalez from Public Works responded immediately. Councilman Conley and I coordinated meetings with the Corps of Engineers, and that actually were directed by Congressman Steve Scalise, who got involved with the Corps, and I think for the first time in really since Katrina, since this project started, we were able to get directly to the people at the Corps of Engineers to address this drainage issue. I'm pleased to report that the Corps of Engineers gave a public meeting Monday night that Councilman Conley and I coordinated, and reported to the residents that they have committed that this issue will be rectified by the Corps of Engineers, and have identified various problems that they think might have led to this. But from the commander of the Corps of Engineers himself, they made an open public commitment that they will address the situation and make sure the flooding problem is rectified. It is a Corps project, so as everyone here knows, the city of Kenner and the Kenner City government has, very little authority over anything that may happen there. But that being said, the Corps is clearly committed to the citizens and fixing this problem. So I think that's something very good that we have to report. So.
Any other reports this evening from the council members? The next item on the agenda is item 18, new business. We have none. Item 11 is unfinished business and/or motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position. We have none this evening. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters. I believe, yes, we have one, Mr. Al Morella.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 42 years. I got a question first and some comments. I want to direct the question to Ken Maricoli, Director of Parks and Recreation. At the July 10th meeting, I requested some figures on the revenues generated by Coconut Beach. Deferred it to this meeting. You said you'd have it for me. I haven't received anything yet. Do you have it with you tonight, Ken?
Yeah, basically the revenues come in, they're over $15,000 a year for revenue that they give us directly. That is in addition to the improvements that they put on the property, which is over $1 million, and the fact that we do not have to maintain that facility any further. So that's additional funding that the city did receive, from the savings there. So basically, about over $15,000 a year.
Thank you. Second, my comments. The last couple of months, I want to talk about the Youth Study Committee. The last couple of months, they gave a little report, and the topic of discussion was the Mayor's 2030 plan. And, they gave some positive feedback on it. And but one thing, I didn't hear any of them mention anything about it. I would like to get their feeling. Okay, their views on the $37 million in new debt that the city is in for that's going to fund that 2030 plan. I'd like to get some input, some feedback from them on what is their feeling on that. People like myself, them, and future generations will be obligated to pay that debt off, and I'd like to get they feeling on the $37 million, and if they feel that the project is going to accomplish what it was supposed to accomplish. So I'd like to hear that from them, the next report that they give up here.
To address that issue or not, but I'd like to mention something to you for the future.
Yes.
It would be very advisable if you asked all your questions at one time so you get your full 3 minutes, and then we could let, for example, Ken Maricoli answer your questions.
That's fine. Okay. That's fine, but he came up here right away, so I just moved over and let him talk.
Absolutely, we understand. So I just thought I'd pass that on to you.
Okay. Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Mr. Brown, next time, please try to sign in if possible.
Well, I didn't know I was going to speak again, so I apologize for that. Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane, Kenner. I wanted to first thank Dominic Impastato for the amendment to the Charter Review Committee. I think it was a very good amendment. And also to thank, Keith Conley and Maria DeFrancis and Lenny Klein, all three, for returning my phone calls. And with Keith, I think we had a very productive conversation, and I think the change you made to this was very good. And for those people who don't know what its original form was, the entire council would only have had one appointee on the committee, but several members would have been appointed by college presidents. And I felt like, and apparently you folks agree, that the council needs more representation. And I also want to thank Amy Velo, the Code Enforcement Director, for taking care of the house down the street from me that's been abandoned. Apparently it was foreclosed. Nobody has cut the grass. It was over a foot tall. I think some of the neighbors had made calls and nothing yet had happened. I called Amy, I think 2 days ago, and today the grass was cut and cleaned up, and I really do appreciate it. And then lastly, back to something I mentioned a while ago, I understand the need to move forward on the food bank, but my question still wasn't answered as to why there was no documentation. There were no supporting documents on the agenda for that item, nothing. And I don't recall having seen that happen before. And I wonder if the council members even had the documentation. Can somebody explain what happened there, why that documentation was not on the agenda?
Do you want to answer the question, Mr. Gruntz?
Yes, the documentation is, as the council president said, the council was, and the administration was working on this project to the last minute to get it put together. The documentation is required under the rules of the council to be furnished to the council before they vote. It was done before the meeting. They got all the documentation before the meeting. That's all that's required under the rules of the council, and we complied with that.
Okay, I understand, thank you. Although sometimes the public likes to see it too. But thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
If there's no further business
I just wanted to
this
say, excuse me.
evening- okay.
I just want to thank Councilman Segura on behalf of the citizens in District 2 for his support on getting that grass cut by the property, the new owners of Home Depot. They appreciate it. There's a little bit more to get done, but the reality is the work has started and people are feeling comfortable about it. I want to thank Ms. Valot for literally getting on them to cut the grass, and thank Councilman Segura for staying on this since the property is adjacent between District 1 and 2. So thanks again, sir. Thank you, Ms. Valot. Thank you, Madam President.
There being no further business this evening, I need a motion by Conley, second by DeFrances to adjourn.